Colin Scummy Morrison is a pioneer in the sport of freestyle motocross and a founding member of the renowned Metal Mulisha motocross team. Colin started riding when he was a kid, but was never interested in what he called preppy motocross. His too wild, too fast, too much in your face, hard-charging, rebellious attitude was a perfect match for the emerging freestyle motocross lifestyle of the late 90s and early 2000s. Renowned for being one of the first guys in freestyle motocross to be featured in a movie, Colin played the lead role in the motion picture movie Bro in 2010, and it seemed the party would never end. This hard life of international travel, crazy, fast-moving, and truly death-defying string of freestyle stunts, combined with constant parties, broken bones, and painkillers, created a blur that lasted years. After he cheated death in front of countless fans for so many years, Colin realized his addiction was becoming something harder and harder to cheat. In the depths of his despair, suffering deep depression, and contemplating suicide many times, he realized the party had to end. In 2010, he entered rehab to get his life back on track. It's been a hard road, but he's never looked back. Today, Colin opens up about his past, present, and dedication to being an evangelist for drug awareness and abstinence.
Hi guys, welcome back to Recovery Today magazine. My name is Tara Connor, and today I am here with Colin Morrison. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me today. So, I want to know, because I'm curious, how did you get the nickname Scummy?
A lot of people ask me that one.
Give me the truth. I'll give you my nickname if you give me yours.
All right. Motocross, we were on, it was actually Warped Tour. It's a big concert pretty much. Travels America every day. You're in a different state. We had our own tour bus, and I think living that lifestyle, you know, sometimes no showers, the trouble, and I did a bunch of things, and my buddy called me Scummy from another guy. His nickname was Scummy. Then when we got back, we made a movie. He has Tourette's, so we call him Twitch. Okay. We made a movie, The Adventures of Twitch and Scummy, and that movie got really big, so the name kind of stuck. So, I mean, I dig it, you know, nickname, it's, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, there could be worse.
I'm running, yeah, I'm going with it, so.
Okay, well, since you told me yours, I'll tell you mine.
What is it?
So when I was a cheerleader in high school, I got the nickname Skid.
Uh-oh.
Because I tooted a lot. But I didn't, like, leave anything. Like, there were no marks.
No skid marks?
There were no skid marks, but they would be like, Skid! And they're like, hey!
I'd go with
shit.
it. Yeah, it's cool.
So how is it being sober? Tell me about your life today.
That's a really big question, I guess.
Show
but
is.
I guess from where it was, I really wake up every day like it's Christmas. And not just saying it because we're doing this recovery thing.
Right.
I tell everybody that, you know, from where it was, being on drugs, heroin, all that, you know, when you got to wake up, you'll literally sell my dog to get my next fix. And to wake up, you know, I wake up every morning at 6 a.m. before the sun comes up. I go on a run, you know, and I'm pumped from the time the sun comes up till it goes down, and it's true, so.
It's definitely a different way of life. I mean, I know that when I was in my addiction, everything just seemed normal. Like, that's what life was to me. Do you know, what happened in your life that made you think, like, oh, this is normal? Like, how can I ease whatever I'm dealing with? Like, is there any specific time in your past that made you more prone to go towards alcohol and drugs?
You mean normal, like when I'm on drugs? Is this normal?
No, this was before you started taking drugs. Like, how did it happen for you? How did you catch addiction? That's another
big question, but let's just go over it. Grew up in Moore Park. Everybody knows everybody. Had my parents. My dad was a cop, Vietnam. You know, so he was one of those guys. Never drank, never did drugs. Same with my mom. My dad took me to off-road truck race. That's where I saw my first motorcycle, dirt bike. You know, they had races. After that, my life completely changed. Every single day, I'd cry. I'd just cut dirt bike magazines. I'd cut the dirt bike pictures, put them literally everywhere, every cabinet. You know, he knew I just lived, breathed, slept dirt bikes. This took about 2 years till he bought me one, and that's really where the gate dropped and I was off to the races. Started racing, picked up, I started picking up. I got really good. We'll just fast forward a couple years. I turned pro, and that's when a thing called freestyle motocross came around. Do you know what that is?
I do.
Okay.
I had an ex-fiance that was like into dirt bike racing, so.
Okay.
I'm kind of awesome.
So yeah, did that. What's his name?
You don't need to know.
Okay.
No one needs to know.
Got really big into motocross.
Yeah.
Did X Games. I was one of the first guys to do X Games for motocross, 1999, and that's when the Metal Mulisha came about. And that's where it really, you had a group of good guys that followed the rules, and then you had a group of us that did everything against the rules. And this is when freestyle started. We were just really pioneers in the sport, so partying really came along with that.
Right.
I made money and traveled the world pretty much making money. Partying was accepted. The harder you partied, like the more, the more high fives you gave. I don't know. It was accepted back then. So looking back at it now, who wouldn't become an addict? I kind of think about it, but then I just look at everything I did. People are like literally want to do anything to party with you. I never had to buy drugs, drinks, it just everything came to me. And like I said, this is a big question, so I'm trying to tie it all in, like my whole life.
No,
so
for
I think we need to split it up, but pretty much from day one, I never was a troubled kid.
Right.
I always, I never ditched class or anything. I was always good in school. I turned pro when I was in 10th grade in high school, so I dropped out. But I did just get my GED after rehab, so I guess that is a good thing. But yeah, I dropped out, but I was traveling the world.
Right.
Kind of on top of.
You had a career.
Had a career at a young age, and I did that for 15 years. A lot of broken bones. I know my mom did not sleep probably half of that time, just a nervous wreck. But yeah, just a lot of things happened in that 15 years. I felt like I was a functioning addict for, I would say, 10 years. And then the last 5 years got really bad, but we can get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that for me, I just started using because it was so normal. And I think that anytime that you're in any kind of industry where it's, lights, camera, action in some kind of a way, like, it's just normal. I got sober at 20. And I'd never had a legal drink, but I never really had to buy anything when I was Miss USA, and I never had to be carded, and it was acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we struggle with these days because everything is so normalized that I don't think that teenagers understand really what they're getting themselves into, because it's almost as if you're weird if you don't do it. You know what I mean? So, so when did it kind of become how did it get out of control for you? Because you said that you were functioning for like 10 years, which I relate to. But when did it all kind of start going downhill?
Really started going downhill. And like I said, when you're jumping a motorcycle, over moving trains, doing, just doing these jumps, jumping 200 feet and breaking bones, laughing about it, like that's just a way of life. So.
Right.
When you live this lifestyle, you're jumping in front of 30,000 people one day, and it was very hard for me, then we're getting paid to host the after party. How do you switch the switch off,
Right.
from the adrenaline going big? So it's like, I just jumped my bike 200 feet, did whatever, just almost died. And I'm going to go to the after party. I'm not going to go get like a diet tea and go sip it in the corner,
Right.
I'm going bigger than everybody. I'm going to, fight just whatever, just completely. I'm going big till I black out or get kicked out, and this was every night. I'm sure I'm going to leave a lot of stuff out, but the pain pills, that was a big one. I got my spleen taken out, got metal in both my feet. I mean, the list I have is pretty extensive, but I think any pro motocross rider, you wouldn't believe, like, the injury list.
Right.
So pain pills is a big deal. We were smoking weed, drinking all the time. I think it really got big. I'm trying to think about it. One of my friends, he found a doctor in Burbank. And we were going there every 2 weeks, getting 125 Norcos, 80 Somas, and 110 Xanny bars every 2 weeks. And we were going through them. And we were living, like, we were we were taking a combination that would kill a normal person, but we
Right.
were functioning. Like, I don't even know how I was pulling it, and sometimes even riding.
Yeah.
And this went on for a while, and that was a really big one. That's when I really got caught up, and you know, it went all the way. We didn't stop until my best friend. We went there, and then I was driving, or somebody else was driving my truck, and my best friend, he was living with me. We heard him snoring in the back of my seat, and we got home. I'm like, whatever, because I've seen him do this a lot. And we got home, and we realized he was dead. Like, all the way home, he was like dead. Music was blasting. So that was a big one. You know, my buddy just died in my truck. 2 weeks later, that doctor hung himself.
Wow.
In the office. It was a big deal. Like, I think they figured out he killed about 10 kids from ODing. I mean, that many pills every 2 weeks. And I was going in there, and it's crazy looking back at it, because I've heard so many times that these doctors, they were like, literally, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, you need this, you know, like your injuries. And I didn't even show him no x-rays or nothing. I kind of just bullshitted my way in there. So just, it's really disgusting. He hung himself, my best friend died, and then I had an intervention with all the metal militia guys. There's a lot of high-end guys from bands, top motocross riders. They had an intervention. They always knew I was, you know, not going down the right path. And this is like, I could write a book, because that one story, I got about 50 of those. I'm sure a lot of addicts do, but I think in my lifestyle, like just how extreme it was, like some of the stories I can go on forever, but it'll take, like I said, forever, so we don't need to get into it. But had an intervention for me. This is, we were filming a TV show for MTV, a pilot for the Metal Militia, and they said, yeah, come over, we're gonna film. So I was pumped, got over there, and it was like everything you see in TV, a full circle, and there was like 30 dudes there, and I sat down, and it was so fucking surreal. Like, oh my God, I see this shit on TV.
Like,
I'm the
whoa,
guy.
this is happening. Are there cameras?
It was heavy. They straight up told me, you know, like, we're gonna pay for everything. We're gonna take care of your dogs, your house, everything. We got this. And dude, I told them, no, I got this. Like, I'm gonna do it on my own. Like, full just bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I had a problem. I was going to AA meetings after that, and they were bummed. You know, this was a big deal that I didn't go.
Right.
So that was a big deal. People, like, they were just jaws dropped when I walked out. I'm like, dude, I got this. You know, fuck you guys. And you know, I was going to AA meetings. I went to an outpatient rehab, but I still went to, you know, the pipe store where you can get fake piss. I'd go in there, had fake piss every time they had a drug test me. I was, you know, putting the fake piss in. I was going to AA meetings, snorting Roxy's in the bathrooms, coming out, and like in my head, it was so sick that I thought I was sober. Like, I was telling everybody, I believed my own lies.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm sober. I'm doing so good. And yeah, it was just disgusting looking back at it. I remember I got paid because they knew that they paid me to go to some like Christian school to go talk about recovery.
Oh, wow.
And I went there, and I was smoking heroin in my truck. In between, it's so sick. Like, looking back at, like, oh my God, like, I pray every night on my knees for things like that, and like things I've done, and you know, disgusting. But I was really deep into it. And then, you know, when that doctor died, got into oxys, snorting about 10 a day, and those cost a lot. So I pretty much sold everything I had, to the point I sold my dirt bike, my moneymaker, the thing that when I was a kid at 12 years old, like, I cried to have a bike, and I became a pro. I became where kids wanted my autograph. Like, I did it. My life, I achieved everything. I didn't even see what I had because drugs took over my life. So it was, you know, it was tough. And then that's when, I was telling you, selling everything for oxys, and then heroin came in. And that's where, once the heroin got in, that's where it really got tough, because that's like I couldn't function. That's really where I couldn't wake up. I couldn't do anything. That's where it was all about heroin. And yeah, it was really tough for like 3 years. I lost completely everything. And then my first DUI, I was 18. Alcohol, first one. Second one, I was on pain pills after I broke my leg. So my third one, I don't talk about this a lot, but I couldn't get no more heroin. Ran out of money, ran out of shit to sell, and then I got addicted to dust off. And that's like stuff, like I remember seeing with my chick, like intervention, the chicks, I'm like, dude, that chick's no way. How do you get to that level? Crazy? And then I got to that level. I was stealing dust off. and see like the lowest you can go. You can't get no lower. Like you really
Right.
can't. I feel like I can top anyone. I don't know. Like you can't get lower than stealing dust off. And it was
Right.
just to get my body high.
Right.
I didn't even like the high. It was just.
It's a weird high.
It's
kind
a
of like
trippy
wah,
high.
wah,
I did that
wah,
for.
wah.
Yeah, I did that for 3 months, and that 3 months was the worst 3 months of my life. Like everything. Got my third DUI. I passed out of my truck after I went down to Mulisha to go sign a contract. It was an hour and a half ride
Right.
from Mulisha to my home. It took me 6 hours.
Wow.
I don't even know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I was in the valley. I went to like different Best Buys, fucking Staples, like
Right.
tweakiest shit ever. And I don't remember, but this was the lowest part of my life. I went to, it was a Target. I got in my truck. I wasn't even where I should be, like point A,
Right.
point B. I'm like fucking D. I don't even know where I was. And
Right.
so I remember pulling out of there. And then the next thing I remember, I wake up and my head's on the steering wheel, on the horn, smoke everywhere. My whole truck is smashed in. It was something, no joke, it was something out of a movie. Like, I looked behind me, a whole destruction.
Wow.
Like it was something out of a movie. People were freaking out. I'm like, no, what the fuck?
Right.
I get out, I passed out in my truck, foot on the gas pedal, and just slammed through all these cars. And I'm not too religious, I don't go to church, but I feel like, you know, where I am now, there's a bigger purpose.
Right.
You know, if it's me getting sober to tell my stories to help others, because I should have killed somebody there.
Right,
I
yeah.
should have killed a million people. And so I was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for the cops, and the whole time in my head I wasn't even thinking about the people. I'm like, fuck. There's a
Right.
can of dust off in my truck.
Well, and I think that's the crazy thing that we go through as addicts, and I think that that's the misconception that people have, is that we make that choice, right? And it's like you're saying that, you know, heroin kind of took over my life, and now I'm doing dust off, and I'm doing all these things, and I don't even know where I am, and it's, I know for me, like when I start using, like all bets are off. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know who can be hurt. And then if someone is hurt, I don't think about their well-being. I think about how is this going to affect me? Because the only way that I could ever plow through my addiction was to kind of like turn a blind eye to the things that I was going through. But even like you were saying, when you were speaking to, you know, a group of kids and telling people that you were sober, we can fall under that delusion that, oh, I am sober. No, I really am doing it, because it's a disease that's centered in our mind that convinces us that we're good even when we're not. So I want to fast forward to treatment. So you go to treatment. How long were you in treatment for?
Not at that point yet.
Okay,
After,
you keep it moving. Just keep it
I'm moving. I feel like I'm flowing. So
Flow.
fast forward a lot, but so cops come.
Yeah.
I go to Twin Towers. I'm not made for jail. Tattoos, all this stuff, like this is like happy tattoos. I just always like ink. I'm not that guy. So it
Right.
was just really heavy. I was excited I was going to jail because I wasn't ready for the outside world. I was so
Right.
pumped. I'm like, dude, in here, I'm good. I was in jail, like Twin Towers in LA. I was pumped to be there because I'm like, fuck, third DUI, like all the destruction. I didn't care. I didn't want to call my dad.
Right.
My dad and my parents, they were like, I put them through so much. They knew like that's not their son. So I put them through so much. I didn't even care. I didn't want to call them. That was my third DUI. I knew I was going. I went to the judge and they're like, you know, you're going to be in jail for 2 years. And then like right there, she's like, wait, hold on. And she looked, my first DUI, every 10 years, the first DUI gets sponged, like
Right.
out. It was 10 years and like 4 days. And she's like,
Whoa.
trippy. So she's like, the first one, you're good. Like, you're going to be in here for 30 days. They don't keep, you know, people like DUI, you know, there's not enough room there. So I got out the next day, like crazy stuff, everything I did. And my dad picked me up, wasn't mad, he was crying. It was like just a
Yeah.
heavy emotional thing. I was crying like, dude, I need to go to rehab. I need to go. So that's where it started. Like
Yeah.
just ruined everything. I'm 30 years old. I'm back living at my dad's house. I had a house, car, I had everything in my life, lost it all. Back in my dad's house. It was just a trip being at like my childhood home, thinking like everything's fast. I had everything. I have nothing. So I went to rehab, and that's where my complete life just changed overnight, man. I was in detox. it seemed like everybody there was just bummed to be there,
Right.
you know, and I was just so pumped. I mean, every single day I was just the first guy down at meetings, and still looking back at it, I was like, I had everything back in my life, but that was some of the best times of my life in rehab. It really was. It's all like how you want to look at it. You know,
Right.
you don't want to be there. Your parents are making you go there. You're not going to get anything out of it. But
Right.
the rehab I went to wasn't at Malibu. It wasn't
Right.
like you had to spend $1 million. It was like $1,000. It did the job, you know,
Right.
if you wanted it. And changed my life. I went for 30 days, graduated. I bugged my parents. I'm like, I want to stay here. So I stayed in sober living. And yeah, it was amazing. I met some really good friends there. And then I was talking to this girl, Ashley, before I went to rehab, but she knew like I was a mess. And I contacted her when I was in sober living. And then
Yeah.
it took a lot for her to come and get me. Like, dude, I'm picking this guy up at sober living. I really had to like sweet talk her. I still don't know
Yeah.
how I did. I remember like she came, I talked to her one time and she got to the end of the corner and she turned around and went home.
Oh, wow.
So she wasn't committed. So yeah, she came the second time, started dating her, and you know, we fell in love, and then you know, I moved in with her from sober living. I got a job with a buddy, and then like roller coaster, but instead of like the roller coaster going down, losing it all, it was like the successful roller coaster.
Right.
It was like, I tell people, like, if you're not an addict, you don't get the, I don't know, you could probably help me out, like the feelings of like, I'm 30, but I have, like, getting everything back, that feeling, you don't
Right.
get that in a lifetime if you're a normal person. Like,
Right.
everything I got, like, it just means so much. And I tell people, I'm sure you do too, like, I would do it all over again because,
Right.
you know, I'm very open with my story. I was telling you earlier, I have a lot of fans, and I give back. I tell my story. And it's weird, out of all these like demented stories, not one person, I've pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've made my amends to everybody, but not one person in 5 years has been like, dude, you know, that one time that was so jacked up, I
Right.
can't, nothing like that. Not one person, you know, just people are pumped.
Right.
My life is going like, it's just so good. Just got 4 companies now. I'm back. I got everything back in my life, but I think it means so much more now.
Right.
So if I had to do it all over again, I would. And like when I talk about where I ran into all those people, like thank God I didn't kill anybody, and
Right.
I pray every night. But I think, you know, here's the deal. Like what if I got better back in the day, and I listened to everybody at the rehab or at the intervention.
Right.
And our sport, I got so many buddies where I visit them, they're paralyzed. I visit their
Right.
tombstone because they're dead. What if I got good and then I got paralyzed and I'm, you know, so I just think like it's weird how life works. Like everything led me to right here, and I'm so
Right.
happy. I'm helping people, and I'm just so content with life. So if I had to do it all over again, it's sick, but I would,
Yeah.
because it led me here, and every day is like Christmas.
Right.
So-
I mean, there truly is something about feeling like you're losing everything and actually physically losing everything. But I think the worst part is when we just lose that conception of like who we are, like your dad being like, that's not my son, you know? And I think that that's one of the things that people need to hear, is that while people are in their active addiction, that's not who we are. Like, I was this person my entire life. I just couldn't find her because she was so stuffed down with
Yeah.
all of the stupid things that I was doing that I had no control over. But it's so amazing how, you know, when you're willing and when you're ready and you go in there, it truly is your perspective. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be here. I want to do this. I want to go to this meeting. I want to do all of these things. And then life starts to get good, and it truly can feel like a roller coaster, because it's almost
Yeah.
like a slingshot, because you've been going back for so long, and then pew, you just take off, and now you're married to Ashley, right?
I got married. Yeah, I got married last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're
Yeah.
purchasing a home next month. I mean, just things in my life are going so good, and it's weird. Like now, my life before, I'm about, you know, so hardcore, extreme. Now it's like I got a little white dog, a little black dog. I enjoy going to the beach. You know, I still have a Harley. I still ride on the weekends, but my good times are like going to work, my normal job, coming home, watching, Grey's Anatomy or Parenthood on TV, and you're making dinner at home, and I'm pumped. You know, I've lived the lifestyle, and it's cool. You know, kids can look at me, talk shit, but I can, you know, I've done so much that you haven't, so I know I got in me, but I'm enjoying the soft life right now, and I don't care. You know, I think I don't know, I just love my boring life. I tell that a lot of people, you know, and life is good. Like I said, I got 4 companies now, and it's weird, you know, after rehab, my dad got stage 4 cancer, and that was a really heavy one, because if I was an addict there, I don't know how I could be. He's divorced, so like he only has me and my sister. My sister's had a kid, so she was busy. So like I was in Temecula, I had to move down here to help him, but I feel like if I was still an addict, I'd be taking his pain pills, and like I wouldn't be there. I mean, I was like, had to go over to his house at, you know, 2 a.m., 5 a.m. to like help. He had throat cancer, so he had like a tube in his stomach to eat. He couldn't swallow. So I literally had to like do everything for my dad. And like if I wasn't sober, there's no way I could have helped him. Right. And then he had a company, he services fire extinguishers for 40 years, and like he couldn't do that anymore. And it's his company, so like if he doesn't go to work, he loses all the accounts. So I took over that business. So now I have that business that's doing really good. So like I got a business, I saved my dad, and like if this would have happened 5 years ago, it would have. So it's weird how things happen.
And the timing of life.
In life, I still trip out on that. So I feel like I could take on anything right now. Not trying to be a superhero or anything, but I feel like the life I've lived, you can throw anything at me. I can take on anything. Like if Ashley has triplets,
you're like, let's go.
Whatever, let's do it. It's just whatever, you know. But then if I'm on my deathbed tomorrow, I can say, you know what, I'm happy. I've done everything. Yeah. You know, that's where I think some of the partying, like I'm not going to die tomorrow. Like I wonder what that was, because I did everything. I know how like horrible a lot of it was, but literally I feel like I can take on anything. Not trying to be a tough guy or superhero, but the life I lived, life addicts live, because it's crazy the things we do and the things, it's just people don't understand it. Like, why can't you just stop drinking or doing that?
That's my favorite. Just say no.
Yeah, so
Colin, just stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you stopping, Colin?
Exactly.
There's so much to live for.
Yeah.
Well, I am fascinated by your story, and I relate on so many different levels. And I mean, I really think that it's helpful for people to hear that, you know, I was doing these things, and it was very normal for me at the time, because it was just being shoved in my face and being overprescribed by doctors. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have this opioid epidemic right now, is because people are just shelling out prescriptions.
I see it, and the big thing is like Suboxone and methadone clinic. They get off heroin, and like it's sick. One of my buddies is going through it, and like it's sad, because like after you get sober, it's so easy like to look at it. You go to rehab, you know, you go to meetings, stay, make sobriety number one, you will get your life back. It's like a miracle. You go into meetings, you hear all these like miracles, like it's crazy, but it happens. Like you don't know how it happens, but like if I tell everybody, it's just crazy, like once you make sobriety number one, what you get. But like my buddies that are still dealing with it, they're going to methadone clinics, and they're like, yeah, this doctor says I have to be here for another 3 years to wean off. And it's sick how the government, they're just doing it to get the money and Suboxone, all that, you know? Yeah. I feel like cold turkey, I don't know, like the rehab I went to, they're very strict. Like they don't give you none of that stuff. You go in there, hold you down, you will get through it. It's going to be hell, but I mean, I don't know, you put yourself
I mean, I
there.
do think that, you know, there are uses for some of those medications, and like immediate uses, but not long-term. They're not meant for long-term use. And I used to go get methadone when I couldn't get drugs. I was like, well, let me get some of that methadone. Yeah. You have any Suboxone? I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah,
so I guess I didn't come off like I think it's bad, but like they're not going to tell you that. It's always long-term deal, so yeah, it is sick out there, and there isn't enough things like this, like recovery today. You know, outlets to be, because like a kid's not going to listen to the dare cop. Oh, dude, that cop, like he said so many rad things, like I'm not going to do drugs.
Oh my God, I can't wait till
half of the kids are going to be scared, and half of the kids in there, probably like me and you, they're like, yeah, I want to do what he said not to, you know? So I think like having people like you in your industry, people like me in my industry, I think kids are more going to listen to me than their parents.
I agree.
Same with you. So I think outlets like this and other things are great, and
well, perhaps you and I should come up with some type of a prevention thing that we can go around, and you can be the rock star and I can be the mess USA.
I'm down.
Are you down?
We should do this.
More to come with that. Is there anything that you would want to tell anyone, any of your fans, or someone that may be struggling with addiction or asking themselves, do I maybe? What would you say to them?
My biggest thing, and we were talking about this before, you know, I go to AA meetings, but it's not really my top priority.
Sure.
I know a lot of people out there, and they'll give me flack, like, dude, it's not the way. My thing is, I'm kind of blessed with having, like, some fans, but I give back pretty much. I'm sure you guys will pop up my social media, but just write me, because every day I try and write back everybody, and every day I try and get to people that I see that are struggling. I get their
Right.
phone numbers, and I'll reach out and talk to them, and just really just talk to them. You know,
Yeah.
they have no one to talk to. I'll tell them my story. So I'm very open, and that's like my number one goal, is just kind of giving back to people. So just reach out to me on social
Yeah.
media, and don't reach out to me if you just want to talk about like
Girls
bikes and girls and
bikes
tattoos. Talk to me if you
tattoos.
got an honest problem.
Like,
you know,
if you want to kill yourself, hit them up.
just hit me up on here. You know.
Same. I will gladly talk to anyone who is struggling or having a bad depressed day, like I have like once a week.
So, yeah.
I'm so grateful that you were here with us today, and I think that, you know, a lot of people are going to be interested in your story and seeing that life can completely transform and just putting sobriety first. So you have a great message, and I'm grateful to know you. And you can find out some more information with Recovery Today magazine. So stay tuned and keep us posted on anything that you may want to hear of. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Pow!